This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Tokyo Olympiad from 1965, directed by Kon Ichikawa. The tagline of this film, from this wonderful poster that many people have sent me in the last couple of days, "The man's picture. Every woman," underlined, "will love."
Is that seriously the tagline?
On the poster, yeah.
What does that mean?
It may just be the second greatest motion picture of our time.
What's the first?
It doesn't say. It's definitely, but it's not saying it's the best. But they're
There's
saying
so
it's
many-
the
there's
second.
so many
It's the
questions.
second greatest. And laugh, cry, thrill.
Wait, where are the laughs coming from? Did the person even watch this movie, or was that written for a different movie?
I think it's from those turtle, the turkey necks.
The jowls?
Yeah.
I got some screen caps of the jowls.
Sweet. You should send those to me because I didn't.
Awesome.
So RJ, a synopsis of this Tokyo Olympiad business.
Mm-hmm.
This impressionistic portrait of the 1964 Tokyo Summer Olympics pays as much attention to the crowds and workers as it does to the actual competitive events. Highlights include an epic pole vaulting match between West Germany and America and the final marathon race through Tokyo streets. Two athletes are highlighted: Ethiopian marathon runner Abib Bikila, who receives his second gold medal, and runner Abamed Issa from Chad, representing a country younger than he is. That's the synopsis.
That's the synopsis for the entire Olympics?
Yep, that was it. Pretty lousy. So, RJ.
Yes?
It didn't dawn on me until sitting down to watch this on the weekend that the Summer Olympics next year are happening in Tokyo.
That didn't dawn on you? What are you, a chud?
Yeah.
I knew about that immediately.
I didn't even realize. I'm like, oh, that's next year.
To be honest, I didn't even know what this was until I turned it on. I had no idea what Tokyo Olympiad was. I assumed it was the Olympics, but I mean, you never know.
Well, RJ, it's the 1964 Summer Olympics.
Really?
In Tokyo.
Which Olympics is that? Does it give you a description of all the Olympics preceding?
I could find that information if I so chose, because they do that in the film.
The intro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It goes through all the Summer Olympics, not discerning between that and the Winter Olympics.
Well, when did they split?
I'm not sure, actually. You should look that up.
Because this was, I'll look it up.
They were split at this point.
Okay, because I noticed this was in October.
I will get to that. I will get to that.
You do it.
Hey,
you do your thing.
Slow down there, Hoss.
You do your thing.
Okay, so RJ, first of all, some fun facts. Tokyo had been awarded the 1940 Summer Olympics, but which they don't mention in the documentary. But this was subsequently passed to Helsinki because of Japan's invasion of China. And then but then the Olympics was just like flat out canceled because World War II.
Yep.
Fun fact, RJ, relevant to perhaps Joshua Frazier. This was the first time that South Africa was barred from taking part in this Olympics due to the apartheid system in sports.
Due to the what?
Apartheid system.
I'm unfamiliar with this. I think you might need to explain it to me.
Or is this because you don't know, or just cause?
Yes. I don't. Whatever. Keep going. I don't care.
You can look up South Africa and its history, RJ.
Okay.
But they were able to compete in the Paralympics that happened at this same year, where they made their debut. This was the first Olympic that was telecast internationally rather than by tapes. So if you can imagine an era where like you're like filming the footage and then you're like, all right, get the tape on the boat or on the plane. You got to get it out there across the seas so people can watch it on like delay of days. It's just like such what a different world 1964 still was. This was the first games to have a color telecast. It wasn't entirely in color, but there were segments being filmed that way. The games were scheduled, RJ, for mid-October because I was watching some of this with friends of mine. And when the October thing hit, they were like, October? Why so late?
Wait a minute. I got to stop you for a second. You watched a Criterion movie with friends?
I did. I found some. But it was a failure. It didn't work out. So I'm going to go watch half of it, but we did get through half of it there.
I'm pretty stunned that you did this and you never even thought to call me.
No.
You know how I watch movies. I would have came. I would have livened up the scene a little bit for you.
That's what I'm afraid of. So RJ, the games were scheduled for mid-October to avoid Tokyo's midsummer heat and humidity and the September typhoon season.
Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. It looked cold, but hey, Jarrett, I got some news for you.
What?
Did you know that it was 1894 when we had the first modern Summer Olympics?
Wow.
Did you also know that it wasn't until about 30 years later in 1924 that they included the Winter Olympics, held in the same year, winter and summer, same year, until pretty recently, 1992.
Yes.
That's when they split.
They offset.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is something I knew just offhand. I'm kind of a sports buff.
Yeah.
So I didn't look that up.
Oh, so you must know the medal count for Canada in the 1964 Olympics, being
3.
a big sports buff.
3.
No.
What was it?
4.
Oh, fuck. I was so close.
Yeah, he's pulling it out of your ass.
Were they all bronze?
No.
Oh, shit. Well, what did we win in?
1 gold, 2 silver, and 1 bronze, I do
What was the
believe.
gold for?
I don't know. Who cares?
Oh, fine. I'll look it up. You do.
You go do that, because this is what the Olympics are all about. And actually, when you read up about this movie, there's like the people who are like really annoyed that this documentary does not have that information. And because it's like we're so trained to watch sports this way, I guess, that we're like, where's the results? Where's the data? What's the record? Did they beat the record? All the metrics aren't there.
You want stats.
Well, if we're talking, so yeah, there's spoiler. Canada shit in the bed because it's the Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
The one thing that I don't think comes through very well though is initially for the first hour you're like, whoa man, Japan, are they just like a wash? Are they like not going to like represent? Are they going to not pull through as the home country? And actually, RJ, they wound up 3rd.
Who got 1st and 2nd?
Take a guess.
America and Russia?
Correct.
Oh.
You are a sports buff.
How surprising. So I don't know if you knew this, Jared, but our 4 gold medals in the 1964 Olympics
Our one gold medal.
1 gold was for rowing, men's coxless pair. So paired rowing.
Okay.
Our silvers were in the men's 800 meter and then the men's over 80 kilogram. Oh, judo. Shit. Oh, okay. So that was judo. And then the bronze was for athletics, men's 100 meter.
Okay.
I wonder if that judo was what we were watching then.
No, that was the like catch weight, which is why there was the 6 foot.
Okay.
285-pound Dutchman throwing around that Japanese man.
Hey, it might interest you to know that the guy who won silver for judo, Doug Rogers, he's still alive. He's 78. He lives in Vancouver, and he was born on friend of the show's birthday, January 26th. That's Ryan Nagel for you trivia fans out there.
Wow.
Yeah, you see that?
Shit, son.
You see that?
So before we get to this film, which I'll just throw out there, I really like this. I thought this was really cool. Couple of things. So Yashinori Sakai, who lit the Olympic flame, was born in Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, the day an atomic bomb was dropped on that city.
Did he have superpowers?
I'm laughing because it's like the day an atomic bomb was dropped on that city. Because there's only like 2 of those. So I guess Anne is sure.
I see.
But
he seems to be doing okay though.
Seems to be doing okay. Yeah, there's some. I think I saw something about in the 2020 Olympics that they're making the torch out of aluminum from the Fukushima disaster.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Radiation.
Like instead of the flame from Greece, the flame will be lit off of the radiation waste.
The green, like. Anyway, what is this?
I don't know. Keep talking.
For Oliver Granger, who mentioned this in our preamble, New Zealand's Peter Schnell won a gold medal in both the 800 meter and 1500 meter. So I guess that's a big deal.
Is it?
Hey, Joe Frazier, future heavyweight champion of the world, won
Smoking
a
Joe?
gold medal in heavyweight boxing.
Was he smoking Joe Frazier?
Probably, unless there's more. Are there many Joe Fraziers? Keep recalling this from all your like sports almanac knowledge.
My sports almanac knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, Smoking Joe Frazier is a real person, and he was a boxer,
Yes,
and they did call him Smoking Joe.
Good God, do you know anything about the world, RJ?
Do you? I brought it up.
You always. I feel like you've brought up Smoking Joe Frazier, but you're like, is he a real person?
Did you know, Jarrett, that he was also born in January?
Wow.
A lot of people at this Olympics. Actually, there is a statistic where people who are born in like the start of the year are have better athletic performance than people born later, like in the same age group for like kids. I think it's just because they're older and all that stuff. But anyways, what are we talking about? Movie or something?
I'm trying to throw some trivia your way.
Sure.
Reigning world champion Osamu Watanabe capped off his career with a gold medal for Japan in freestyle wrestling, surrendering no points and retiring from competition as the only undefeated Olympic champion to date at a score of 189-0. That's pretty insane.
What was his sport?
Freestyle wrestling. He's like, there's that footage of him just riding that guy, that like Turkish looking man.
Oh,
He's just like
yeah.
all over top of that dude, just
I
dominating.
think he was the inspiration for Barton Fink's wrestling scene.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Soviet gymnast Larissa Latniana won 2 gold medals, a silver medal, and 2 bronze medals. She had held the record for most Olympic medals at 18, which stood until broken by American swimmer Michael Phelps in 2012.
That guy's a criminal. He smokes marijuana.
Oh,
You better
man.
watch out.
Shit.
It's not legal down there.
The real Aquaman.
The real Aquaman. Aquabong, maybe.
Yeah. And British runner Ann Packer set a world record in becoming the surprise winner of the 800 meter, having never run the distance at international level before the games. She's the one woman that we see in this win that gold medal. Very a fetching lady.
Oh. What do you mean by that?
She's very attractive, RJ.
Oh, Jarrett.
Yeah.
Jarrett. Let me see this Ann Packer.
No, there's a really good like there's like the one image of her standing on the podium that's like wow, what a great shot that is.
You're creeping people out.
That's the podcast.
Hey, she's still alive.
Yeah.
But she was born in March, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you getting into astrology or something there?
Hey, what's your zodiac sign, Jarrett?
It's between me and the Lord.
Oh, Jarrett. I'm gonna look it
So-
up. What's your birthstone?
A little back history on Tokyo Olympiad, RJ. So every Olympics since the first modern games in 1896, Summer Olympics had been committed to film to some extent or another, usually financed by the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, for reasons of posterity. For the 1964 Olympics, the Japanese government decided to finance their own film and initially hired Akira Kurosawa, who at the time was the most famous Japanese director worldwide, thanks to films such as Ikiru and Seven Samurai. However, Kurosawa's famous tendency for complete control, he demanded to not only direct the film, but the opening and closing ceremonies as well, led to his dismissal. Can you imagine? This led to the bringing in of Ichikawa, who had a reputation of coming into productions where events hadn't followed the initial plans. Fascinating.
So like, did he come back?
Who?
Kurosawa.
No.
Oh,
They shit canned him.
they shit canned
He was
him.
too much trouble.
What do you think he was doing?
Well, you can see what movies he might have wound up making.
No, I mean like to be removed. Like, what kind of trouble do you think he was getting into?
He was too much of an artist, I'm sure. And they were like, no, we don't want to go that way. Because, I mean, we didn't start talking about the film now.
Okay, well, before you do that, Jarrett's zodiac is a Leo. His birthstones are Peridot and Sardonyx, and his birth flowers are gladiolus and poppies.
Not a single thing you just said is accurate at all.
Oh, is that?
No.
Oh, okay. Wait, you're the next month.
Oh my God. Okay, so RJ is looking at his sports almanac for this information.
His birthstone's a sapphire,
s-
and his zodiac
Whew.
is a Libra.
Nope.
What the
And
Virgo?
leave this to your mom, okay?
Well, she would know these things.
She would know. And look at you. You're a clown here.
Typical Virgo behavior.
RJ.
Yeah. What's
So
up?
this film opens up with a brief history of time, Olympics time, giving like a kind of a Cliff Notes version of the Summer Olympics as they go along, skipping over those years where it's like there was wars happening, and there's that time where Tokyo did have the Olympics, but then they lost it because they invaded China. But we won't talk about that. And then you get the footage of people running across continents, across Asia. With the torch to bring it to the opening ceremony and bring it into the big cauldron.
The what?
The Olympic cauldron. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, okay.
The burning hole.
Yeah, that's a good name for it, actually.
The burning hole.
The burning hole.
And yeah, so then we get the all these people landing in a modernizing Tokyo. So Tokyo, of course, post-war World War II, occupied by America, and they're trying to like rebuild, and also by taking on the Olympics, show, hey, we're a modern country, and we want to flex. We want to show that, hey, we're like just like the rest of you people out there in other countries that weren't in big wars. And so you have all these people landing, and you get that real 60s vibe. Everything's like really well designed, and everything's new and neat, because all the old buildings were just knocked down by bulldozers, like in the opening frames of this. We get this like incredibly dramatic music over the whole film, sometimes like playing out like a horror film, sometimes playing out like a Bible theme, or Bible epic. Apparently Canada and the United States are made of cowboys, as we see in the opening ceremony sequence.
Is that not true?
I never thought about it, but I guess so. But Mexico, not cowboys.
What are they?
Just dudes walking around in suits.
Sicarios?
No. Yeah, sicarios. No cowboy hats.
Mm.
Yeah. So I mean, like the film is just like this elliptical footage of events laid out over one another. You're getting into the events, and it's kind of like cherry picking moments of like athletes in competition. One of the things that I read a few times, some hilarious YouTube comments on one cut of this film, talking about like, why is this movie shot all in close up? Like, this is moronic. And I'm like, yeah, no, I think that was intentional, but it doesn't matter. It was stupid. But yeah, it's like things like the clanging of flags and just like
the
weird
butt close-ups, and the jowls close-ups,
and mud and people like shot puts being popped out of the ground, and just like mud and muck and water, people's faces, people like watching things through binoculars, just like the spaces that they're in, and just like all these things were just like, it's telling the story of this like 16 days that the events take place over, and just kind of like telling this sort of like non-linear story. Like there's periods where like there's like a narration that goes on throughout the film, but it drops out completely, and it's just footage for a long times until you get to like another, here's an event that we're going to cover, and just get to the drama of it. But it's very like, it's an artistic sports documentary, and I think like it wouldn't be much of a stretch to say that this is probably incredibly influential, because I feel like a lot of sports documentaries now look like this. And like kind of go for this similar vibe. But they're like, I mean, the vibe of a contemporary documentary is very different from this. Like this very much feels like a documentary from 1964, and it's like trying to make like this like modernist art film out of this sporting event, focusing on humans and like competitors and stuff like that, and like their struggle, I guess, and like kind of like the this notion of what the Olympics are supposed to be, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think this is like a really awesome documentary. I liked it quite a bit. I had no expectations going into it. I'll talk about it after maybe you talk about how you've thought about this movie. But I've got some problems with the Olympics as a thing. And
I don't really know why though. It's like it's this wonderful thing where the whole world gets together and tries to beat each other.
Indeed.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing.
You opposed to a little friendly competition, Jared?
I think the scale that it tries to operate and the rules in which those things have to happen are problematic, a little draconian, and the way that people bend over backwards to accommodate these things. It's got some issues, and we'll touch upon that, RJ.
Okay. Okay, we'll get there, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we'll probably have some back and forth on this. But hey, RJ, what did you think of Tokyo Olympiad?
I had no idea what this was at first, and I had no idea it was 3 hours. So when I found out, I was pretty upset, to say the least.
Yep.
That I would be, after I dumped 5 hours into that TV movie this week. So I was like, 3 hours. But I actually thought it was pretty good too. I think you liked it more than I did, but I thought it was really impressive, to be honest. The footage that they have is really good. Like you said, there's all the close-ups, and even some of the other shots, the way that they film things. I was watching and I was like, man, this is artistic shit. Like, I think what you kind of mentioned, I think the shot put scene, and then is it a hammer throw where the shot put ball is on a string, or what is that called?
Yeah.
Maybe not hammer throw. I don't know. But whatever. So shot put, and then the whatever the shot put on a string is called. But those ones are really good because it's lots of close-ups, and then I think it's really good when you see the guy doing his warm-up routine, and he's just kind of like spinning the ball between both of his hands, and he's rubbing his hands on
Russian guy.
Yeah, rubbing his hands on his shirt, and it's so long. It's like 10 minutes of him doing this, getting a feel for the shot put, and it's just a close-up of his gut and his hands, kind of like working the ball. I really like that, and then it also really shows like a quiet intensity to the sport, where they show you all of these things and then they show you all the throws, but then they wait until after they show you all the people throwing, and then they show you all the shot puts landing at the same time, like just in unison, or it's like one scene after another. And I thought that was edited and put together really nice. I was watching it and I was like, yeah, this is a nice looking thing. Kind of like what you said. I think this is what people copy now, but I thought that was really good. The other thing to go along with the impressive footage is I thought the musical selections for each sport were just bang on. The one I really liked was when they were playing jazz for the cyclists, and like the weird like the qualities that jazz has with these guys just on bikes, and how it's kind of frantic and all over. But all of the music I thought was paired really well with either the sport or the segment, whatever they were showing. So I thought it was really well put together for those two reasons. It's got some awesome close-ups of butts and jowls and things like that, which I've already mentioned. I just looked at my note to go back to the sound. The sound design for the hurdles, I think, is like one of the most impressive things in this, because it's almost like quiet to the point where like sound is leaving space. You know, like in movies sometimes where an explosion will go off and it'll be like, it's like the absence of sound. It's like that a little bit, but not as showy and pretentious. There's just like no sound until one of the ladies hits one of the hurdles, and you just hear it like in full sound. It's like poosh. So I thought the sound design there was cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing, that the sound design of this movie, because like they obviously were just shooting the footage and then they put sound in afterwards. Because there's times where like some of like the sound effects are like a bit ridiculous, like the swooshes are so like exaggerated that it's kind of like, but at the same time it's like it should be chalked up to the version that we were watching as well, which is so fun fact. So this movie, the DVD is like long out of print. Right now, the only way to watch this version is via the 100 Years Olympics box set. That is $400 retail and includes 53 films. And this is included in that. And apparently it's a 4K restoration.
That'd be cool. What are the other films like?
It's like, well, it's everything. There's like one.
It's
Like,
just literal footage.
it's just like these sort of documentaries that I think, like, because there's like Lanny Riefenstahl's one for the Berlin Olympics. Then there's like the one, there's like the 16 Days of Glory. That's during the Los Angeles one. I think there's one for like Salt Lake, Calgary might be in there too, which is like,
Ooh.
which was the follow-up one for the '88 Winter Olympics.
Mhm.
But yeah, like every Olympics, there's some footage and someone compiled something. But I think this is the one that like is kind of held up with the highest regard. This and the Riefenstahl one. Just as
So
far as
what?
like Leni Riefenstahl,
Okay.
her whatever it's called, Olympia or something like that. And this one's, I guess, less problematic because it's not directed by Leni Riefenstahl.
I don't
but-
even know who that is.
Oh,
So.
it's she was a female photographer, filmmaker, documentarian who lived in Germany and got to become the kind of like one of the filmmakers for the Nazis.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, there's like
Hey, work is work for a struggling
so
filmmaker, right?
if you're aware of the film Triumph of the Will,
Oh, sure.
So she directed that.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's again problematic. Sure.
So yeah, I thought that was real good. What else did I like? I like seeing how I thought it was funny how nice the Japanese people were in this. They seemed so accommodating for everyone else. Just even the way they were like cleaning up stuff. And I know that's just their job, but I was like, man, look at how much they like try to help out each other.
That's one of the great. I don't know if it's a cliche of Japan, but it's like legendary for cleanliness.
Yeah. So I really like that. And I mean, I don't know if it's real or not. Everyone assumes Canada is full of really nice people, but I meet assholes every day. So I don't know. Maybe
some of them even make podcasts.
Some of them do. Yeah. I think the way that Beth showed it was, again, it's like just the job, but the preparations for the marathon at the end when they have the watering tray table and the drinks are like organized with the runners' numbers on them for like whatever their preference of drink is, which is, I'm guessing, pretty standard fare. But I was watching that and I was like, oh, neat. Look at how they organized it. Some guys like orange juice. One guy's, I think, just drinking Coke. It was like thick black syrup. I was like, what the fuck? Is that guy just drinking pop? That's weird.
Cane syrup.
Yeah. And then like there's sponges that they're like putting on their heads. Seeing the events was pretty fun. Like the pole vaulting into just a huge basket of garbage, I think.
Yeah. Well, like when we were watching it, it was like, is that just like, it looks like bricks. And it's like, obviously they're not jumping into a pile of bricks and the sound isn't right, but like the texture is brick-like. But it's like, it's just like, I think rubber and packing or something like that. That's just like dumping out into a pit. And it's garbage. It's garbage.
It's just garbage.
So you jump, 15 meters, wherever the fuck they're jumping, 15 feet. And it's like, whoa, into the pile of garbage.
But yeah, and I really like that too, because you see some of the funny things like speed walking, the Olympic sport, or
a strange one.
The thing that I really like about it is back then there was still some plain people who could compete, like really regular folk and regular looking people.
Well,
it wasn't all like finely tuned
who have day jobs.
Yeah, I thought the best was in the marathon is like, this guy is a mechanic, this guy is an accountant, and they're running like, I don't know, what is it?
2 hours.
40 kilometers or something.
Yeah.
Is that a gross exaggeration? I don't know.
Well, I think the time for like the guy who won was like over
2 hours and 12 minutes or and he was just running
for 2 hours straight. And then you're like, oh yeah, better get the stretchers out because they're all on the cusp of like collapse and their feet are just completely destroyed. And it's because like this is an era where, okay, one, shoe design probably still a work in progress.
What about the guys who weren't wearing shoes?
And then there's the guys who aren't wearing shoes. Maybe they run better that way.
Cement? God damn.
Well, I mean,
not a lot of give on cement.
So there's that. But then also, but like kind of like the whole like science of like training for this stuff to get your records up and stuff like that. I mean, there's still like records that stand from like another era, but those are like probably not conditioned, but like like just skill based. But like there's like the races that you're like, yeah, it's all comes down to conditioning.
Well, that's what I mean. It's fun seeing regular people.
Yeah,
because they weren't like created in a lab.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen that image of like there's like that photo book that somebody did where they took a photo of like all these Olympic athletes and just like demonstrating the range of bodies types that like these are like an example, like this is the gold medalist in swimming and this is what they physically look like, and this is what the person, it's like this is like, so you have like a woman that's like a gymnast beside a woman who's like the gold winner in shot put. They have completely different bodies, like everything, like their bodies geared toward success in that sport. And there's certain people who are like, yeah, the person that's going to excel at that is the person who's got the body type that best encapsulates the muscle grouping that you need to do that, let alone, but also having the willpower and training and resources to be able to become exceptional at that thing.
What body type do you think is best suited for the podcasting lifestyle?
Pear-shaped.
Pear-shaped. See, I'm with you, but I think I identify mostly as a squash, like a spaghetti squash.
Okay.
Because it's like a pear, but it's more consistent the whole way.
With beards.
Yeah, I feel like spaghetti squash are the hipster of the vegetable world.
Gotta get a black marker, put that beard on it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. So anyway, continue.
Or was I talking?
Events.
I don't know. That's mostly the stuff that I really liked. I really liked the slogan at 26 minutes where it was faster, higher, stronger. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very inspirational.
And then they released the birds.
And that one guy like kicks a pigeon, which I thought was weird.
Well, no, he was shooing it because he's like,
he kicks that pigeon.
Oh, I don't know.
For sure.
It's just you an exaggeration. He
Maybe you're an exaggeration.
He shoot it because he's like, you're supposed to fly out of the building, you uncooperative bird.
Uncooperative, huh?
Yeah, he's not. He's not following the direction by the designer of the opening ceremony.
Well, maybe that's their fault. Maybe that's their fault. But no, I don't know. I liked it quite a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think was it Canadians' representation in these events is like the collapsed Canadian woman who's just like face down in the mud, and you're like, what event's that? I'm assuming it's like marathon, some sort of thing like that, like where it's like, and they just died. Because then there's like another, like shortly after, there's like another person who's just like dead on their feet, and you're like, what event is that?
I don't know. It looked cool though.
Being collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it looked cool. I don't know.
Yeah, like look cool. There's like, so part of the joy I got out of like this film after the fact was so I'll talk about the cuts for this film and then I'll get to that. So
the cuts, cuts,
the deep cuts. So there's the version that we watched, the Ichikawa cut, which is 170 minutes. There is the Japanese government cut, which is 93 minutes, because apparently they were not happy with the product that Ichikawa delivered because it didn't celebrate Japan enough. Mm-hmm. So they reduced it by half. There is currently a version on the Olympics YouTube channel that runs 125 minutes with British voiceover narration, and it looks like shit. Like, it's really crummy looking.
What kind of shit?
RJ shit.
Excuse me.
And there is also a cut called Sensation of the Century from 1966, which I believe our poor listener Oliver Granger wound up watching, not realizing that he was watching a different movie. But there's like no mention of this even on the Wikipedia entry for Tokyo Olympiad. This is edited with the same footage by two other directors, Hiroshi Maeda and Tetsuji Yamagishi, and it's like 156 minutes. So it's still like short. I'm not sure what the big differences are. I think the rip of that's out there, it looks better than what we watched, which is like very like fine. Like I mean, I wouldn't go back to watch this in this version. I would wait to watch the 4K restoration whenever that becomes available. And yeah, because the full version is available along with Sensation of the Century in that doorstop, the Olympics collection that Criterion put out a year or two ago. Gigantic goddamn thing.
Oh, that giant thing that we don't want to watch ever.
Oh, I don't know how we would cover it, but so yeah, I was kind of like, just threw on the YouTube version the other day just to have it in the background, just to kind of get a comparison of like what the feel of it was. It seems like kind of similar-ish, but obviously they're going to be cutting out like an hour out of it. But I started reading the comments, and man, there's just people who are like, I really like the class of this era. The athletes don't have tattoos. Which is like, so, yep.
What does that mean?
Well, they're classier, RJ, because tattoos aren't classy. What are some of the other ones? But like steroids, which is like, this is like right at that point though, where steroids are a thing, just beginning to be a thing. And you can see that there's like those, the Russian and East Germans that are competing in this, like they're like winning these things and just blowing the records out of the water. And you're like, yeah, but it's like that straight up like whatever anabolic steroids. Like no one's testing at this point. They don't even know this is a thing yet. But they haven't really figured out performance enhancing drugs, which is like for like actual like it's extending your performance rather than just straight out strength. So like those are like the ones where you're like, I need to throw this far, and that will help you do that. It's not like getting into the thing where like I can last longer and recover faster than everybody else. We're not to that phase just yet, but that'll all come in the next decade, I believe. Steroids, RJ, they're fun.
Are they?
I don't know.
Oh,
they're fun.
I thought you'd maybe have some input on that.
Well, no, I got nothing.
I thought you were involved in that blood doping.
Oh, yeah, using my IV bags, swapping in and out. Yeah.
Well, isn't that what you were doing in the hospital last week?
Oh, yeah. Hey, RJ, did you know, RJ, there's a Cary Grant movie set during the Tokyo Olympics?
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And
did you watch it?
I watched most of it. I had it on.
Oh.
It's on YouTube. It's called Walk, Don't Run from 1966. It was shot during the Tokyo Olympics.
Is it about speed walking?
No, it's like a wacky kind of like comedy thing, and it's creepy character. It's his last movie. This is the movie he made, and then he retired. It's a remake of this movie called The More and Merrier, which is set during another Olympic. And I don't know. It's like Cary Grant. He's like a rich industrialist who's like traveled to Japan on business during the Olympics. Doesn't make any reservations, but he's rich, so people kind of like make heirs for him. But he's like, I need a place to stay. Oh, there's a room for let here at the embassy. And then he like goes there, and it's like this like young woman who's like put up a sign for another woman to be there, and he's like, no, I'll live here. And he like just literally pushes his way into the house, and he says, I'll live here. It's so bizarre, and you're like, 1966, a different era. And there's some good old fashioned like, oh, so sorry, Japanese men at the very beginning, and it's like, oh, so sorry, and lots of bowing, and it's just like sheer comedy, because 1966. Yep.
Can't believe you did it.
It can be missed, RJ. It's not so great. But another fun fact for you, RJ. This movie, Tokyo Olympiad, it sold 19.5 million tickets in Japan and held the record for the highest grossing film in Japan in terms of box office admissions for decades, up until it was surpassed by Miyazaki's Spirited Away in 2001.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah. This was a big deal.
Oh. But why though?
Because it's like a celebration of Japan and being Japanese, I guess.
Did you think that also, or
watching it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm not Japanese. It's not aimed at me. But there's like these weird things of like, well, the Japanese competitor, she got 4th place, but she tried so hard. Like it's very supportive of their competitors until they start getting into like the martial sports, and then they start like winning judo, which was the first year that it was introduced to. I think I read something about that. I don't even know if that's true, because that Giesink guy, that huge fucking Dutchman guy who like beats the shit out of that other man, because he's like the size difference is like immense. He's like got 100 pounds on him and like a foot, and he just tosses him. It's like what a proud man. And then I of course read about him, Anton Giesink, and there's something about him like being involved in some because he was on the IOC, some corruption and graft and payoffs.
Corruption?
Yeah, well, we can't talk about the Olympics without corruption, RJ.
Hey, you ever wonder what happens to those Olympic stadiums after the Olympics?
Well, this one stuck around until they just bulldozed it to build a new one for the 2020 Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could talk about that. So
Sure, why not? Tell us why you hate sports.
So why fuck the Olympics? So one example here: costs.
Yeah.
The Oxford Olympic study established the outturn cost of the Tokyo 1964 Summer Olympics at $282 million in 2015 dollars. This includes that's nothing. This includes sports-related costs only, that is, operational costs incurred by the organizing committee for the purpose of staging the games, expenditures for technology, transportation, workforce, administration, security, catering, ceremonies, and medical services, and direct capital costs incurred by the host city and country or private investors to build, e.g., the competition venues, the Olympic Village, International Broadcast Center, and Media and Press Center, which are required to host the games. Indirect capital costs are not included, such as for road, rail, airport infrastructure, or for hotel upgrades or other business investment incurred in preparation for the games, but not directly related to staging the games. The cost for Tokyo 1964 compares to the cost of $4.6 billion for Rio 2016, the $40 to $44 billion for Beijing 2008, and the $51 billion for Sochi 2014, the most expensive in Olympics history. Average cost for summer games since 1960 is $5.2 billion. So there's an article you can look up out there, people, called Negative Impact of 1964 Olympics Profound by Robert Whitting from Japan Times, written October 24th, 2014. And I thought I'd share this one particular paragraph. The whole article just touches upon, like, what happens, like, hey, when you have to, like, put in a bullet train, because they were just building bullet trains at this point in time, that you can see in such films as High and Low. They're like, they're making an extension, and they has to cut across all this space that's like dominated by, you know, things that are there already. So they have to build over top of it, and they have to build across water bodies, meaning that they're like disrupting water flows, disrupting fishing patterns, putting fishermen out of work. People who live in certain areas are being pushed out, being like the polite no way of Japan culture, which is like, we are going to get you out of this very politely and benignly, but like we'll get what we need. Like, reading currently about like the massive increases in taxes in Japan right now to like help pay for the Olympics, going from like over the last 15 years it was like 5%. Now it was like, I think it went up to 8%, and there's talk in 2014 here. I don't know, I didn't go much deeper than that, of it going to 10% to help offset the price of doing the Olympics. But this particular paragraph, I think, is relevant, RJ. Finally, much has been made of stray dogs killed in Sochi, Russia, but there was also a massacre in Tokyo on a much greater scale. During World War II, the Japanese government had mercilessly slaughtered dogs, cats, and zoo animals in the name of food scarcity and disease prevention. Another sweep of strays was undertaken before the Tokyo Games, this time primarily for cosmetic reasons. In the 1940s, the unfortunate creatures had been rounded up, stuffed in canvas bags, and beaten to death with clubs. By 1964, however, a technologically more advanced method had been developed, using a contraption that suffocated animals with carbon dioxide. It resulted in the deaths of an estimated 200,000 cats and dogs in the year before the start of the Olympics.
Oh, why?
Because it doesn't look nice, RJ. We want to have a nice, clean sporting event and make people think that we live in a nice, clean, modernist world for our... So, yeah. Why? Why indeed? And this is the one that I know would speak to you, but like, because like human misery you're indifferent to in general. But but this is just an example of like the concessions that are made, and like I doubt that the IOC is asking for people, hey, can you kill the dogs? Like, I don't think they're asking that, but there's this perception of like, oh, we're going to put these places in like off to the side places where like, oh, hey, there's all these dogs. Well, we might as well start killing them now because they're inconvenient.
I don't get it, Jarrett.
Well, sports, RJ, they're awesome, and the Olympics bring us together. So, okay, I'm of two minds. So I like this documentary. I really like. There's like the footage of like these people who are standing at the top of their sport, They've like just competed. They've just been like, hey, you're the best person alive right now based on the parameters of what the Olympics are. It'd probably be hard pressed. Like, you're better than practically almost everybody. Like right now, you just competed against like a handful of people who we've selected as the best people in the world, and you just became number one. That's incredible. That's like a fascinating, worthwhile endeavor in itself. However, the scope of which these games have become, and the like marketing and advertising money all involved with these games, like the sponsorship, like media rights, everything about it is just vile. And like the fact that they still haven't really quite grasped the whole concept of like, hey, how do we catch cheats? Like they still don't know the whole like WADA stuff with like Russia doping and stuff like that. It's hilarious because it's like, yeah, they got caught, but America's doing this shit too. Like everyone's dirty, and it's like, it's all about winning, and it's not about the sport. It's bullshit. It pisses me off. But like the whole impact of like spending billions of dollars on this sporting event willingly, and like then they pick up and leave, and they go away for 4 years, and they move to another place. It's just like a summoning a fucking eldritch horror, being like, hooray, the monster's here. And it's like, let's do it. Let's get the sacrifice together. And it's like, why are we so excited about this horror?
It does seem a lot more like a curse than anything else, because you just see, like, it's like I said, the abandoned like stadiums, and they're just overrun by like garbage, and you're just like, oh.
Right. So like these massive stadiums that they built. So there's like a few things that came along. Like, so Budokan, I believe, was built for the purpose of the event. And Budokan's still around. It's a big like event. It's like kind of a historic thing. But like the actual giant stadium that we see in this, I don't know how much use it got after this. And they're like, in 2012, like, we're bulldozing it so we can build a new, more up-to-date space. Because, so RJ, talking about the 2020 Olympics coming up here. So Japan, when they put in their bid at Buenos Aires, 2014, in their proposal, they were saying that July and August are great times for competition in sport with mild summers. And it's like, that's obviously not true, because in 1964 we knew that like Japan, and like I've listened to my fair share of like podcasts covering the G1, the New Japan wrestling tournament, that like it is so goddamn hot there, and when you're in a building that isn't like remotely well air conditioned, it's brutal. Like, it's so bad. The humidity and temperatures are so hot. Like, it's 30 degrees plus all the time. You're like, yeah, that's a great place to have athletes go, I guess. And so they're having to build this like outfit this massive stadium with air conditioning to compensate. And it's like, how much is that going to cost? And but it's like, oh, whatever, we need to do this. In the lead up to the 64 Olympics, there was people who were like challenging it or against it, and they were like labeled like Japanese propaganda style as just like traitors to the country. And it's just like, yep, that's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like nowadays the society is kind of turning against the Olympics. We actually just had a thing happening in Calgary, because back in '88 they had the Olympics, and it was like a great boon at the time. But now it's like the IOC is actually going around essentially begging countries and like cities to host their Olympics, because nobody really wants them. They've kind of caught on to the fact that the alleged benefits of doing it aren't really there. And yeah, it's like, I'm so glad that we're not getting it. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great news for us.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want that shit. Like, it just means probably everything would wind up costing more money after the fact. And pass, hard pass.
Hard pass. Well, you hate sports though, so
I don't hate sports. I'm just indifferent.
Yeah, well, you hate sports though, so you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean, yeah. Jarrett?
I hear ya.
Do you know what I mean, Jarrett? What were we talking about again?
Tokyo Olympiad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's quite a fine documentary, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah. I liked it a great deal. It's very good.
Good.
Hey, RJ.
Good.
There's people, though. They're not fans.
Why?
Well, let's find out. Ben DeBono, who is a repeat at least a few times. I believe that they might do a Criterion podcast of some sort themselves. 2 stars, the lowest rating for this film. I've been dreading this one for a while as I saw it getting closer and closer in my Criterion watch through. It's not that I expected it to be bad. I just knew it wouldn't be for me. I absolutely hate the Olympics and do whatever I can to avoid watching them when they're on, so the prospect of a 3-hour documentary on the 1964 games was less than appealing. Still, I held out a bit of hope. It can't possibly be 3 hours of people running, jumping, and occasionally swimming, can it? Oh, yes, it can. The Criterion essay claims, which is written by George Plimpton, that part of the pleasure in the film is seeing how the games have changed. I'll have to take their word for it since there's no way I'm watching the modern Olympics to find out.
Oh,
I'm being snarky, but in fairness, at least they acknowledge their snarkiness.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a very well made and beautifully shot film. I just happen to be the exact wrong audience for it. If the Olympics are your thing, you'll probably love this, and more power to you. As for me, I can recognize the skill involved both in front of and behind the camera, but I'm afraid I'm more likely to win the 100-meter dash than I am to enjoy this sort of movie. I don't know. So, I mean, as RJ's been
Fair
saying,
enough.
I hate sports, but I mean, I like sports documentaries. I love my 30 for 30s. I got all those box sets. I don't know. It's all about the presentations. There's like great stories that can be told out of it. Obviously, do I tune into any one particular sport to like watch an event transpire over time? No. But there's things like I have other things I'd rather do, I guess. But I don't know. Sports happen over there, and people are happy and getting into it. Good for them.
Yep.
And this documentary, I mean, it's like very much like a template of a sports documentary that I enjoy. So I was into it. I get the sporting aspect. I get the tension and the drama. It's inherent.
I thought this thing was very well put together, and I think his review is fair enough.
Yeah.
Repeat offender. Favorite movies are a lot of the stuff that we watch and like, a lot of Criterion's, but they also gave La Dolce Vita 5 stars, Hereditary 5 stars, and Night of the Hunter 5 stars.
Ooh.
So what are you going to do with that, Jarrett?
Nothing.
Also, The Descent 1 star. Very weird. Anyways, keep going. About Robert Fuller.
Robert Fuller, 2.5 stars. Walking is an Olympic event.
Yeah, there's no need to get upset about it.
No.
I thought it was pretty funny, to be honest. Robert Fuller gave Crash 5 stars.
The David Cronenberg film.
No. The what is it, Paul Greengrass or whatever his name is?
Oh, Paul
Haggis.
Haggis.
Yeah, they gave that 5 stars. All the other 5-star ones are fine, but here's the real kicker, Jarrett. There's no kicker.
Oh.
I thought I would have something funny to hit you with, but
Steven.
Yeah.
3 stars. So this
Okay.
this is barely hate. Undeniably important as a document of the spectacle as a whole, the film is frustrating in its presentation of many of the events. Close cropping and zooming makes it impossible to appreciate the work of some of the athletes as the camera tries to follow their movements. And overall, there's a surprisingly workmanlike style on display. Weird. The work.
Workmanlike.
Fans of volleyball will be happy, though, because they're nigh on 10 minutes devoted to one match. Well, it's because it's like the gold medal game. And
Super
it's like,
intense.
And it's the first year, and it was like volleyball's a big deal in Japan. And they won in a tense final set, right?
Yeah. Was that whole person's review?
And then they wrote, the excitement and grandeur of the occasion is captured well, and there's always something heartwarming and hopeful about the camaraderie inspired by the participants. I really like that sequence, actually, too, because there's like the
volleyball?
the coach, like how he's like being very stoic, but like obviously incredibly emotional. It's like, I think that was awesome. Because it's like, he wasn't like losing his shit. He's just sitting there and being like, But he's like, obviously should be like absolutely astounded and amazed that they just won.
I thought the volleyball thing was really good too, because it's there's some actual good tension there. You're like, oh shit, this is a close match.
Yeah.
This Steven is a real flavor of the month basic B, Jarrett. All the 5 stars, like, so Avengers, Infinity War, Avengers, A Star is Born, First Reformed, First Man. These are all 5 stars, Jarrett, by the way. What else we got on here? Thor Ragnarok, Thor the Dark World. Nobody's given that 5 stars. It's basic bitch territory here for these 5-star movies.
Are you calling Steven a punk?
Yeah, every Marvel movie has 5 stars. The Star Wars movies have 5 stars, like Force Awakens Star Wars movies, I mean. So yeah, I'm calling Steven a punk.
Wow.
And
we'll hope to hear from you one day, Steven.
Yeah.
Hope you're
Bring
listening.
it on. Bring it on, baby.
Anyway.
Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm into this thing. I'm into this documentary.
Yeah.
I think people should definitely watch it. I am literally the first person to log this on Letterboxd, my network.
Hey.
And then you're
what about me?
And then you're number 2. Like, and the guy I watched this with also, and that's it. We're the only people who watch this thing. So get out there, kids. Check it out.
Kids, he says.
The kids out there. It's good.
Weird.
Don't be afraid of sports just because you like Criterion films.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, sports are good for you.
Sure.
You don't have to. No one's making you like, I don't know. Maybe people have been traumatized by those like shitty gym teachers.
Yeah. A lot of them wear sweatpants.
Oh man, don't even get me started on the dress of teachers. Especially like watching this, you see like like during that opening ceremony how like immaculately dressed people are and how like well dressed people are, like even in the stands. Like, and then you watch nowadays just how people are just fucking slobs.
Hey Jared, I'll have you know that Monday when I reported to my first day work, I was wearing a button-up shirt, a tie, and black pants.
Wow.
Because I am a professional.
And then they went, he'll learn.
Yeah, I did see, I think 3 sets of track pants that day.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, it's easier to hose the child vomit off, I guess.
Probably. Yeah. Probably, but what are you going to do?
After the break, we're going to pole vault into your heart.
To where?
Your heart.
By who?
Their heart.
Oh. I thought you were going to do something more there. So
no.
I guess
I was trying to be sincere.
Oh, I'm not into that, dude.